and welcome to Reflections of Love and Light with Richard and I. This is podcast number 8, and it's about the emails that we received from the relationship episode from podcast number 7. We received about 4 emails, and I want to let you guys know, keep the emails coming.
Yes, please.
This is what helps our email show. So I'd love to hear from you, whether you want to know psychically a question, you tell me a story, your name anonymous, so don't worry about that. So like I said, we received about 4 emails on relationship help. And one email pretty much, it's a little lengthy, but it pretty much sums up
all the emails that we got.
Right. So,
covers all of them.
So Richard, do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Dear Jackie and Richard, I really enjoyed this last podcast on relationship help. I found it so interesting, I listened to it a couple of times through. You began by discussing the key points of a good relationship. Richard said honesty, communication, and being loyal, faithfulness were key points. When you moved on to honesty, you then discussed asking each other how your day was and so on. I was hoping to hear more about honesty and faithfulness. You see, I live with a partner who is not completely disloyal, as he did not have a physical relationship with a coworker, but as I discovered, it was getting emotional. He had only been at this particular job for 8 months, as a cute coworker discovered him 6 months into his new job. We had been going through some challenges at home, so going to work and sharing our issues helped alleviate his stress and get an opinion. Of course, this coworker discovered his Achilles heel and attempted to shoot her arrows of love into my man. I know as I discovered her inappropriate text to him, and that was the beginning of the opening of Pandora's box. It changed everything. It opened the holes of vulnerability in our relationship. I started investigating by watching the phone bills, texting usage, found out her name, Googled it, etc. Once I discovered, I gave him 2 options. If you want this to work, you can start by finding a new job, or you can leave the relationship. It took 6 weeks, but he found a new job and we went back into therapy. This was a year ago last month. We have been together 12 years to date, and this was the first time we'd experienced this situation. 1 year later, we are stronger in a different way, and I must admit, unexpectedly so. But the relationship has forever changed, and it's been reborn into a new version of the relationship, if that makes sense. It's the grieving process. It takes hold, and as time goes on, it doesn't necessarily get better, but it gets easier. You do grieve the original version of your relationship for an upgraded 2.0 version. I say that because I upgraded to a heightened sense of awareness and clarity on the security of this relationship. It took a year, and as I said, things have gotten better, but I have to admit the circle of trust was broken. Loyalty was questioned, and communication was impossible for a while. So all that being said, how many listeners have been through this? How many worked it out, and how many decided to go their separate ways? What happens when you lose faith in honesty, communication, loyalty, and faithfulness, but no, this is the person you truly love and want to spend your life with? Also, I love the term you use, checking in, as I find so many of us, me included, have a tendency to check out of the relationship for an evening, a day, or even weeks, as my fiance and I have both done through the periods of our relationship. I find my checking out is not necessarily related to my fiance, yet something I may be going through personally, work, with a friend, a family member, that I don't necessarily want to discuss with him. We eventually discuss our checking out moments in time when we check in, and either of us is ready to discuss the vulnerable situation that caused a checking out moment. As for discussing having children in a new relationship, I think age can play a factor. Are you mid-30s and really want to have children, then bringing it up is okay. 4 to 6 week range. The sooner you know, the better, in case you need to move on and you don't want to waste time. The biological clock. Are you in your mid-late 20s? Well, 3 to 6 months makes sense, because you will probably freak a guy out if you start bringing babies up too soon. At this phase, the guy seems to be working on figuring out how to support themselves as well as finding their way in the world, so the thought of supporting a family will freak him out. Couples counseling rocks. Thanks for the talk about it.
That's a good email. Wow.
Kelly from LA.
Thank you, Kelly. But like we said, that email covers pretty much the whole lot of emails that we got about the relationship.
Honesty was the big one.
Yeah. We talked about it during the show, but we kind of glanced upon it. So do you consider honesty?
Honesty, for me, is you can be honest to a fault.
What do you mean by that?
Well, let's say I go to the mall and I buy a pair of shoes and I go out and spend money. And I just put it in my closet and I don't say anything about it.
Okay.
Is that something that I should be discussing with you?
Yeah, why not?
I might
Why
not.
you do that?
I'm just saying I might, go out and buy some things that I don't say, hey, Richard, I went and spent such and such today.
Okay. So that's the times when you come out, bring something out of the closet, and I've never seen it before, and I'm like, where did that come from?
Oh, I got that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Who's completely honest? I, for myself, know one couple who's completely honest. And some things that he says to his partner, I would never say. So I think there's honesty to a fault. That's what I'm going to call it. When it comes to stuff that's going on with me or with us, I feel we should be completely honest. If I feel that there's a distance and I don't know why, if I'm distancing, yeah, that's stuff that needs to be talked about. It's painful, it's challenging, but it's real, and that needs to be talked about. That honesty.
I agree. Like if you're going through something, it's better to be honest and talk about it than hold it in. Like we said in the podcast, it's no good to sweep things under the rug. It's never good to do that because, eventually the pile gets bigger and you can look under the rug because of the pile.
Right.
So it's better to just get it out, talk about it right then and there before it escalates or your mind starts wandering to things that it might not be, just to discuss it and get it out front.
And I'm just going to say, through reading this email, I can't turn on and turn off my gift. So I already know, because of my knowing in my seeing, that this relationship, this had to have happened in order for them to grow. Oh, okay. And everyone's different. This particular email that I'm reading, that had to have happened, and I feel that it was deeper. Their relationship ran deeper than this coworker. It always starts somewhere. And I feel like it was something else that was going on in the relationship. At that time, they weren't, I feel like they weren't getting along. It could have been because of family issues, not even their own issues. But the key was he didn't talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think another good thing in this is that once it did come out, she confronted him, talked about it with him, and said, I'm giving you an ultimatum. This is not going to happen. You need to leave that job, find another job, because I'm not putting up with anything like that. I think the ultimatum has to come out because there's plenty of relationships that where whoever this happens to, they just sweep it under the rug and then wish it away. No, it's not happening. No, that's not happening in my relationship. Or they just feel like if they talk about it, it's too much work to talk about it.
I think that was huge for him to do. And that showed a lot in their relationship, what was important to him. And from this time on, I feel he really needs to reassure her for them to be happy.
I agree with that.
Because I also, I've been doing this work for over 25 years. No one comes to me who doesn't have a problem. That's just what I do. I help people with their issues. This, I have to say, is probably 60% not trusting their partner. And they're coming to me wanting me to tell them, did my partner cheat on me? Do I need to worry? Is this someone that I'm going to, I can be married to?
Yeah.
Is there any hidden problems that they have? I could go on and on about the different clients that I've had with this situation. And like I said, the most important thing is he's going to have to keep reassuring her. Although it's been, a year to date, there's still some things that have to be done. And again, it can be challenging and painful because I also know couples who stay together and aren't happy.
Right. But I think in this situation, it seems like it's on the right path. She referred to it as a 2.0 version of their old relationship. Mm-hmm. So the relationship is better now, where there's not so much sweeping under the rug. They're talking about it and getting through things. I agree with you on the reassuring part, where if something like this happens, there's going to be a time period where you're going to have to, more than the normal that you were doing before, reassuring your partner or spouse that you love them, you're always going to be here, you're not going anywhere, you're not looking for anything else than what you have right here, right now.
And to me, an emotional relationship can be just as devastating as a physical one.
Yeah, of course.
And I read, because I looked this up, and the percentage of couples who end up staying together after an affair is 75 to 80%. 20 to 25% end up splitting up because they can't handle what happened in the affair. So they try to stay together, but this keeps being brought up. And that's another thing. Are you going to bring this up for the next 10 years?
Well, that's where loyalty comes in, where you have to build that back up.
You have to have faith in trust in your partner when they say, I will never do this again.
Right.
I love you and I'll never do this again.
If you can't do that, then that's where you have to take a serious look at, can I do this? can I forgive this person forever? And not keep throwing it back up in their face. Just say that, okay, I forgive you. I'm letting this go. Please don't ever put us in a situation like this ever again.
And just for my thought, I was thinking as I was reading the email that what made her look at his phone in the first place? Because I always say, go with your gut.
Yeah.
There's a difference between your feeling of fear of this happening to you or going with your gut saying this happened.
There's also
this is happening.
signs too. I mean,
Right. There's
coming home late
this
and
is,
stuff
I'm
like
sure
that.
there's more into this relationship and things that have happened that she could put in an
not
email.
just this relationship, everyone. If
Right.
anybody sees that there's little, differences of the way their spouse or partner is acting or the way their routine has changed in any way, I mean, those are little things that can show you signs of that there's something might possibly be going on.
The checking out process, as we used.
Right.
I love that phrase. Just like she said, she liked it too, checking in and checking out.
So, there was a couple questions in the email, like how many listeners have been through this and how many are working it out. Like Jackie's stat, it's pretty clear, that some people are trying and it doesn't always work, but at least a good portion of relationships out there at least are trying to get through it. And then what happens when you lose your faith, when the honesty, is gone, it's broken.
I think all that ties together is the honesty, communication, loyalty, and faithfulness. Those all tie together as one question. I don't feel like they're separate. They're all in one, that we should be honest with our partner, faithful, and loyal.
Right. Yes.
Because when it comes down to it, we end up, we just having each other.
My question for the emailer is, why do you feel, because in part of the email it said she didn't feel like she could come home if something major happened with her and come home and talk about it, so she would kind of check out and, regress. Why not share that? Like I said in the podcast, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's the person that you're with. You're with them to give you support, so why not use that major support in your life to get you through all those things? I guess
that might be something that she needs to change.
I guess I don't understand that part of it. I know there's plenty of relationships that aren't like ours. Not saying that ours is right, not saying that at all. It's just me personally, I guess I just don't understand that part where you can't, when something happens in our life, good, bad, or ugly, I come home to you and it's, Jackie, I had a horrible day. Or Jackie, oh my gosh, you can't believe what happened today. You're the first person that I'm coming home to see
Sounds
or,
like she
or
doesn't.
tell.
Sometimes she doesn't want to even talk about it.
Right.
So I think I'm feeling that that's maybe something that she needs to learn to change. If you don't want to talk about it that day, okay, but don't let weeks go by
Without
before
talking
you talk about it.
Because maybe he's looking for that from you.
And he'll understand better where
What's going
you're
on,
at
yes.
emotionally.
Right. Instead of just trying to guess that, she's not in a good place today. Did I do something? Or I don't
Right.
want to get on her bad side, so I'm going to stay out of her way. At least you're saying to me, this is what happened. My boss made me upset today.